Hey, this is Jeff Lichtenstein. You're watching JeffTV. So in the mid-1980s when I was a kid, Coke made this marketing blunder. They discontinued their regular Coke, which is now known as Coke Classic, and came out with a new Coke. New Coke had more sugar in it. It was to combat Pepsi a little bit. It had a sweeter taste. It did better in taste tests. But in reality, once it came out, the customers went crazy, and McDonald's threatened to stop carrying New Coke. For example, Coke stopped the presses on New Coke, came out with, and they renamed it Classic Coke, and it was which was a blunder, became a marketing success. Well, our real estate contract has always been a simple contract. It's a nice contract, and it's a 4-page contract, which realtors can understand, the buyers and sellers understand, and it's been used for years. So recently, meaning last week, and it's going to go into effect on September 15th of 2010, the contract went from 4 pages to an astounding 11 pages. I've talked to a few lawyers and closing attorneys. Part of the reason they feel that there's many reasons why it went to 11 pages. One is that they think that the real estate attorneys up north have much more input into a contract where they have binders, and we may be going to that type of a situation. Thus, it becomes a profit center for that profession. Second reason is there was a number of explanations, and there's been a number of different problems that have happened due to the market and FHA type of loans being out there, escrow disbursement, or closing companies in some cases, or mortgage companies going out of business. So there were some protections in there, and there's a lot of logical changes that needed to be made. Sellers' initials on each page, for example, we always put in, but there's never been a spot for it. They put that in there in the new contract. So there's a whole bunch of good logical things. Repair, if you do a repair contract, it's went from 20 days to 15 days. 15 days is a much more period of time which everybody would agree to. If you want to make an 11-page contract, though, versus a 4-page contract, as you learn with different teachers, if you have if you have a good teacher, a teacher says, put it in one page, your thoughts, and you make a 1-page paper, and you have to edit things down. This contract is kind of like make it into the same thought into 4 pages. So the first thing that you do is you increase the font size. And our font size increased, and you probably got an extra 3 pages just out of font size alone. Then you put in a whole bunch of clauses that you really don't need. One of them is protection for realtors. There's a half a page indemnification clause for realtors. If there's a real problem and a realtor made an error, you're going to go to the judge, and the judge is going to rule one way or another, indemnification clause or not. Then there's some things in there that are just plain confusing. The inspection period was always been a 2-part process, one for wood-destroying organisms and another section that covered structural damage. Now it's become a 3-part process, and then the seller can get their own inspection to combat the buyer's inspection, and then a 3rd inspection can be ordered, and then if repairs aren't made, then there's 125% estimate of the repair limits that goes into escrow. And it just goes on and on and on and on and on. So when you get an 11-page contract versus a 4-page contract, it creates a number of different issues. One issue is just execution of it. Yesterday I had a 7-page contract with all the addendums that we were faxing around, and we had different and the buyer had to sign, and the buyers were in different places. Well, to go through the fax machine, and when if you're scanning something in, it takes a lot of megabytes. This took 7 megabytes to get through. Now, if you double the size of it with all the addendums, and you have a 15-page contract, simple scan is not going to do. You're going to have to put it in counterparts. You're going to have contracts that are going to go to a spam filter, and because there's more pages to initial, there's much more room for little minute errors. The contract is also intimidating to look at. So buyer's agents who do 3-4 deals a year are not going to be familiar with this, and are going to always have to go to an attorney to write it up, because it's just going to be too confusing because they're not familiar enough with it. The buyers and the sellers may also look at this, and they feel a lot more intimidated, so they're always going to an attorney. So it's going to bring the attorney review period into play. It's going to probably eliminate, unless you get 2 agents who really know what they're doing, contract where inspections are used and and the repairs are made, my guess is what's going to happen is we're going to see a lot more as-is contracts, a lot more attorney reviews, and because there's more time involved in all this and more areas where mistakes can be made, a lot more outs of contracts. It's going to, when you're picking your real estate agent, you really need to pick somebody who's in the business on a full-time basis and who knows what they're doing, because one little simple error in these contracts can lead to contracts that don't stick and fall apart. The new contract is going to be on my website. Under the video there'll be a link and you can go and download it and read some further thoughts on it. This is Jeff Lichtenstein and you're watching Jeff TV.